A source close to the White House tells CNN that President Trump plans to continue to bring up the NFL national anthem debate through the midterm elections. This after the president uninvited the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles to visit the White House. Let's talk about this with the former president of the NFL Players Association, George Martin, who helped the New York Giants win Super Bowl 21. George, great to see you.
Good morning, Allison. Good to see you again.
What do you think about this whole hullabaloo of some of the players didn't want to go? Somehow, I guess that hurt the White House, the president's feelings. Then he uninvited them, and where we are today.
Well, first of all, I think it's an enormous smokescreen, but I have to say a shout out to one of your colleagues, April Ryan, for yesterday trying to get the narrative back on track as she confronted Sarah Huckabee Sanders in trying to get this back to where it originally was, which was a human rights violation. And it's obvious that the White House is going to use this initiative as a political, which is the pot calling the kettle black, political issue throughout the upcoming years. And that's very unfortunate. And the fact that the Philadelphia Eagles got caught in the crossfire, I think is just atrocious.
The White House says it's the players who are making this a political stunt. It's the Eagles and the other players who are making it a political stunt.
I don't think players have that foresight or that fortitude, nor do they have the freedom to make such a decision. Those decisions are usually made at the owner's level, and it's something that would not be tolerated to allow the players to kind of hijack a situation like that. It was unfortunate because, as I said yesterday, me going to the White House after our Super Bowl victory was one of the highlights of my 14-year career. And I know that some of those individuals have earned the right to go and to be recognized for being the champions that they are the first time in their illustrious history. And to be deprived of that is just, it's outrageous.
But I want to ask you about that because you make such a great point. Going to the White House is a wonderful experience. I've had the honor a few times because of my position. You had the honor in 1987 to do it. It's a wonderful, I mean, it's so much better than you can imagine. And I encourage all Americans to get a tour of the White House. But isn't the White House bigger than any one person? Shouldn't all the Eagles have gone? Because it's the White House. It's the country's house. It's the people's house. Why make it a statement about how they feel about President Trump?
Well, I think you're absolutely right. And if people understood the total grandeur of the White House, there's no way you would ever want to refute that kind of that offer, that experience. But I think that what is now happening is that there's so much disdain toward the person who we call the President of the United States. It's so unfortunate that those kind of things have become part of the equation and has muddled so many of the rich traditions that we have here in this country. It's so unfortunate, and I hate to see it as an American, a proud American citizen.
When you went in 1987, did politics come up at your celebration?
Absolutely not. There were no politics involved. In fact, we stood there unified together with the Republican president, and the vast majority of the players, my teammates, were Democrats, and it never came up. There was never a political overtone with regard to our visit to the White House. It was a marvelous experience. I have that picture sitting on my desk to this day. It's something that I'm extremely proud of. My family looks at it, and they think that I'm somewhat of an alien because I'm the only one in my family who's ever had that wonderful opportunity. And it's unfortunate that that opportunity was deprived from some of those players who really wanted to go to that, what I consider a coronation of their Super Bowl victory.
That's such a great point because some of the Eagles still wanted to go, including the quarterback. They were on board. They wanted to go before they were disinvited. Somehow the president is trying to make this a culture war, I guess, about freedom of speech versus patriotism. Here's what Sarah Sanders said about that yesterday at the White House.
If the White House supports the baker's right of free speech, why doesn't the White House support the players' right to free speech?
The president doesn't think that this is an issue simply of free speech. He thinks it's about respecting the men and women of our military. It's about respecting our national anthem, and it's about standing out of pride for that.
George, how do you see it?
Well, I think it is a it is a free speech situation. I think that we all have the inalienable right under the Constitution to have that free speech, and it's not up to the president nor 40, 50, or 60% of the Americans to say what rights that we have and can utilize and express. I think that's one of the things that has continued to divide this country, and I'm very concerned as a citizen. What is going to be the long-term implications of a president who continues to take away certain rights that we are entitled to?
Very quickly, do you think this will be a winning strategy for the president to keep this up through the midterms?
I would certainly hope not, Allison. But I'm at this point I'm dubious because it seems to be a very tainted and divisive issue that seems to be working in favor of the president in many circles.
George Martin, always great to talk to you. Thanks so much for getting up early for us.
My pleasure, Allison. Thank you.
John.
All right, thanks, Allison. In fact, a source does tell CNN that the president plans to continue his battle with the NFL through the midterms. Counselor to the president, Kellyanne Conway, joins us next to talk more on that.
But first, an NFL player's surprising second act after getting sidelined by an injury. Here's today's Turning Points.
You know, it's different than memorizing a football play. I was 5 years old when we moved from Tonga to the U.S. I knew that the only way for me to make it to college was through football. I went to Weber State University, and that's where I played, and I got drafted. I was with the Cleveland Browns for a year, and then the franchise moved to Baltimore and became the Baltimore Ravens. My injury in the NFL that took me out of the sports was I broke the arch in my foot. I had no idea what I was going to do. This small voice came in me, and it said, move to New York and go and sing. I decided that I'm going to go into the restaurant business right across the street from the Met. I wanted to meet opera singers, to study them. I worked at the restaurant for 3 years and then moved on to Juilliard. I've sung in Italy, in Germany, Denmark. The most satisfaction that I have is when I walk off that stage and I know that I have given my all. Yeah.
Time now for the 5 things to know for your new day. Number 1, Democrats averting disaster in the most consequential primaries of the season thus far. The votes are still being counted in California, but the Dems are confident that they will have candidates in every competitive congressional district as they try to recapture the House.
Kelly Sadler, the White House press aide who mocked John McCain, is out of a job. She drew widespread criticism last month for saying McCain's opposition to Gina Haspel as CIA director did not matter because, quote, McCain was dying anyway.
Hundreds of homes were destroyed overnight on Hawaii's Big Island. Oozing lava buried 2 housing developments, mostly vacation homes. There have been more than 12,000 earthquakes near the Kilauea summit since this eruption started.
Facebook admits it provided access to user data to dozens of companies, including a Chinese smartphone maker that U.S. intelligence agencies consider a security threat. The revelation raises new concerns about how Facebook protects users' privacy.
Check out this. A man driving a stolen armored military vehicle, taking police on a wild chase in Virginia. The driver identified as a U.S. soldier. He eventually surrendered and was arrested.
Oh, my. All right. For more of the 5 things to know, and I want to know more about that.
I will look into that for you.
Go to CNN.com/newday for the very latest.
Okay, sources tell CNN that President Trump's battle with the NFL will be hitting the campaign trail. So we will ask his counselor, Kellyanne Conway, about that next.
We stand to honor our military and to honor our country and to remember the fallen heroes who never made it back home.
That's President Trump at the White House Celebration of America. That was the event that was originally supposed to honor the Philadelphia Eagles Super Bowl victory before the president uninvited the team. You're joining me now to talk about this and much more. White House counselor to the president, Kellyanne Conway. Kellyanne, thanks so much for being with us. Appreciate it.
It's nice to be with you, John, and congratulations on your new assignment.
Very nice of you to say. Kellyanne, are you still an Eagles fan?
Of course. I'm so thrilled that The Philadelphia Eagles won Super Bowl 52, lifelong fan, born in Camden, New Jersey, over the river, married in Philadelphia, season ticket holder. And, you know, I'm old enough to remember sitting out at Veterans Stadium season after season when they didn't do so well. And I went to the Super Bowl against your Patriots in 2005 and went this year as well. And I'm very happy. I'm very happy that the Eagles won the Super Bowl. And I'm very happy that yesterday here on the South Lawn, hundreds and hundreds of Americans joined the president in celebrating America. I think both things can be applauded.
I like the 2005 result better. Let me just stipulate that. Kellyanne, just so I understand the president's position, he says it is unpatriotic for players to kneel during the national anthem, even though no Eagles kneel during the anthem during the regular season or playoffs last year.
Right, so let's not conflate a couple different things here. Let's unpack that separately. The president has made clear for about a year now, almost a year now, John, that he believes it's a very simple request to have everybody standing for the national anthem, hand over heart, celebrating all that the flag stands for. Separately, the president sees that the NFL came out with its own policy. If you read the NFL policy, and I've practically memorized it, that is a condition of employment they're making on their players and their clubs. That has nothing to do with the White House and the president. It just seems like they have a similar agreement on if you're on the field, you must stand for the national anthem. The NFL has said, as recently as 2 weeks ago, they said that if you're out there and you're not standing, the team will be fined. You don't need to be out there. You can be in the locker room.
And to that last point, the president has also suggested very recently that being in the locker room is not enough. Staying in the locker room is unpatriotic. Is that his position?
Well, you like to use words like unpatriotic, like you like to use other words that don't describe accurately the state of mind or state of play. So I will push back on that. But I think the president has made a very simple request. He has just said that he believes you should stand for the flag and honor all that it means. That is different from what happened here. What happened here is that I think because of this new NFL policy, folks are digesting it. Has nothing to do with us. Folks are digesting that. And the Eagles had already sort of set in dozens and dozens of officials and players to come for the celebration. And then that number was reduced. And the president decided he didn't want to, the number that he focused on is the number of Eagles fans who had already been waved in and secured here to come to the White House. He didn't want to disappoint them. We were told many of them were already in town. So rather than doubly disappoint Eagles fans, the president decided that they were all still invited, those who wanted to and could still come, and to celebrate America. And I think it's very fitting. The night before that, the president and the first lady honored the Gold Star families, those families who have made, and today is D-Day. So if we want to talk about
we will, you know,
the wonders
the president
of the military,
the president has yet to comment. The president, by the way, has yet to comment on D-Day. I'm sure he will at some point today, but often by this time he's commented on the Russia investigation or other
things. But John,
things.
the issues that attend to those who are perhaps protesting in their own way, the national anthem. We can talk about those issues here at the White House. We've given so many different individuals and issues a platform, a hearing, a roundtable discussion, legislation, regulation. In other words, this is a very open White House to different points of view.
But in this instance, Kellyanne, the president is telling athletes the way he believes they can and can't raise objections.
No, the NFL is saying that.
Oh, okay, but the president told the NFL that they should get those SOBs off the field. That's how this started with them. Last year he did, and then this year he said in a Twitter statement yesterday, the day before, that it's not enough just to stay in the locker room. He is saying, in his mind, you've got to go out, you've got to stand up, you've got to put your hand over your heart, as you just said. He is saying what he thinks they have to do.
And the problem with that is what? No, just so we're clear. And the problem with the President of the United States and the Commander of Chief expressing that opinion is exactly what? The NFL has its own opinion. Some players have their own opinions. And I think that you haven't given enough coverage to, respectfully, the number of Eagles players who do stand there with their hand over the heart, and the number of Eagles players who voted for Donald Trump.
I'm sure there are Eagles players who voted for Donald Trump. And Nick Foles wanted to come to the White House. We've made that clear over the last day. Again, this is the issue of who gets to decide what is patriotic. And some people are making light of the fact, no, it is in a way, because the president has said it doesn't honor the troops. That's patriotism. The president has said that. So he is deciding what he thinks is patriotic. And there are people who've looked at him yesterday not singing along with God Bless America. And that may seem trite, but there are others who say, look, maybe it's not patriotic enough if you don't sing all the words to God Bless America. Who's
I
to
saw
say?
your earlier segment, and I think it's a little bit, well, speaking of unseemly, you didn't need to write that segment, that chyron, the way you did, but you like to. There's a lot of snark and bark coming toward us
Look,
at this White House. I think it's unfortunate, but if it's the only time today that God and America are in a chyron on CNN, I guess we'll take it. But the fact is, John, that this president, he is the commander-in-chief. He makes decisions every day that affects people's lives, including, if not particularly, in the military. He takes very seriously the sacrifice that tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people have made, some of them the ultimate sacrifice over time.
And of course,
and
this
doesn't
is
think,
D-Day.
by the way, and I just want to make very clear, John, yes, it is D-Day. I mentioned that.
Yeah.
And talk about, real heroes. John.
Well, can I just say,
This is very simple.
the
president is not telling the Philadelphia Eagles, the NFL, or any of us what to wear, what to think, how to be, how to spend your charitable time, what to do in the off season. He's basically making a very simple request that when the national anthem is played at a sporting event, people stand and people respect that. And I know everybody's saying, but nobody kneeled, nobody. There obviously are some hurt feelings over the new policy.
Kelly,
it's timing and it's content.
he did say staying in the locker room was not enough. He is telling people how to behave during that time. I do
No,
want to
he's
move on to a
telling people how he
subject.
feels.
Here's the thing: is that another aspect of this is we're talking about this to an extent because of what the president is saying about it, and we're not talking about the economy.
No, you're not talking about the economy. You certainly are.
No, the president isn't when he's talking about the anthem, and you're not right now. So I want to ask you about the economy.
Well,
and
I'm
the
not talking about the economy because I'm on CNN, and you don't talk about the economy
Talk
very
about the economy.
Yeah, I'd like
well,
to.
look, no, we
This
did
would
the
be
jobs
terrific.
numbers when they came in. We had Stephen Moore, the economic advisor to the campaign, on to talk about how good those
That's
numbers
good.
were.
He's a smart guy, and I'm glad you had him on. But you should be, respectfully, you should have screaming graphics about lowest unemployment rate ever for African Americans, for Hispanics, for teens ever or within the last 18 or 19 years, for women. The job seekers, the job creators, and also the job holders have all benefited from this president's leadership. We have 6.7 million available jobs right now, John. That is a historic number. It's an incredible number.
It's a lot. It's a big number. The Wall Street Journal
it's a
reporting
big
today,
number,
the number is actually more than the people looking for jobs, which is the first time since 2000. That's a great number too.
Which means that job security and job availability go hand in hand.
Were the
Because
job creation numbers at the end of the Obama? You've created an average of $185,000 a month since you've come into office. The Obama administration, the last 16 months, 215. Were those numbers as good in your mind?
Well, John, was that the lowest unemployment rate among African Americans, Hispanics, and 19 years for women? No, of
but it
course
was headed that way. I'm just talking about job creation.
No, it wasn't headed that way. But it's the second time this hour you've mentioned President Obama. President Trump is in the White House now. He's here. And he, over the last year, has made economy that is booming. The confidence numbers alone, consumer confidence, small business formation confidence, manufacturers. You had his opponent in the presidential race, whose name I don't say on TV anymore, who lost. You had her promising to put the coal mining industry out of work. And this president has actually presided over a net creation of mining jobs, jobs in timber, jobs in manufacturing, over 300,000 new manufacturing jobs, over 337,000 new construction jobs. You can't argue with those numbers. And by the way, nobody should argue with them.
We're not arguing. We're not arguing. We're having you on to talk about them.
But the president goes further than that.
They're very
good. By the way,
good.
The president goes farther than that, John. This is important.
Let me just say, because of the president's trade policy, the Business Council yesterday said readjusted their job creation forecast down 13%. So there are numbers both ways, but the numbers are very, very solid, Kellyanne. I'm going to run out of time with you, and I want to get to a few more topics because we're lucky to have you this morning. Why doesn't Kelly Sadler work at the White House anymore?
So I spoke with Kelly Sadler last night, and she no longer works on this complex, and there are a number of open positions throughout the administration for those who wish to submit for them, interview for them, and I think that they match up nicely with different individuals' press and communication skills. In addition, I know that Kelly Sadler had a career in the private sector before she came to serve.
Is it because of what
president.
she said? Is she no longer working at the White House because of what she said about John McCain?
I literally cannot comment on personnel issues, and I wasn't involved with this specifically, but I will tell you that she no longer works here, and I talked to her.
Is she going to work in the administration? Are there other administration jobs open to her?
Yes, there are other administration jobs open to her, and to others who would like to interview for those jobs. They should definitely submit their credentials.
In your mind, the comments she made about John McCain would not be disqualifying for another administration job?
I didn't say that. What I said is that she, as I understand it, has been provided with opportunities, the idea that there are opportunities throughout the administration that would fit with different skill sets.
Okay.
But you know, we're also very happy, again, that 6.7 million jobs are available to Americans all across the country, and that this president has invested considerably in workforce development and apprenticeship programs, because that will help people to choose all types of careers. This president said over a year ago that we
to be clear, you're
dignify
not
all
closing
types
the
of
door.
careers.
You're not closing the door to an administration job because of what she said about John McCain. Pure and simple, correct?
Kelly Sadler has been told that there are administration jobs that fit with her skill set and her experience, and that the rest is really her choice of what she would like to do next.
Well, it's the
It's
the government's choice. It would be the administration's choice to rehire somebody who said those things about John McCain. That you can't argue with, right?
John, you've litigated that many times over the last, I think, month or so.
But this is the first time.
But
This is the first time that she doesn't have a White House job, but apparently is going to have other opportunities within the administration.
I'm going to leave that up to her and her future employers, and I don't feel comfortable commenting on personal and personnel at the same time when the individuals involved are not here to speak about it. But again, we're diverting because that's what you do when there's a lot of great news.
We're trying to cover as much news as we can, Kellyanne, in a short period of time. And again, we're lucky to have you here. Sarah Sanders.
Openings at CNN?
Sarah Sanders, you know, we're hiring. Sarah Sanders yesterday refused to address the comment she made last August, where she says the president did not dictate the letter to the New York Times, or to the comment to the New York Times about what happened at Trump Tower. You know, did the president dictate that?
I don't know. I wasn't there, and the first I heard of that memo was when I read it in the New York Times. Talk about a big leak, by the way.
Hope Hicks was there, though, on that plane. There were other administration officials, and Jay Sekulow, the president's lawyer, now says quite clearly the president did dictate it. Sarah Sanders said he did not dictate it.
Right, and everything that you're asking me has to do with outside counsel, and the reason that that's important here is that at the White House, we are pretty much walled off from the outside matters, because the president is represented by outside counsel, and you should really ask them. I know CNN loves to have certain people's attorneys on.
We have asked Jay Sekulow. Jay Sekulow has told us he stands by the letter which says that the president did dictate it. It's not a outside counsel issue when Sarah Sanders says it from the podium, though. She said it from the podium. The president did not dictate it. The lawyer now says that the president did. So there's a difference there. Does Sarah need to explain to us why she said what she said?
I'm going to repeat what Sarah said to the press who asked yesterday, which is that she is referring it to outside counsel, and that's where it needs to be left. And this is an active investigation.
Does it need to be an outside counsel?
Is
she in legal jeopardy? Do you think she's in legal jeopardy for what she said?
Who?
Sarah.
No, no. Why are you saying
Is someone in legal jeopardy for what she said? Because you're saying it's an outside, it's a legal issue.
No. I'm saying that you're talking about something that the president's lawyer said, so by definition is a legal issue, not a legal issue.
I'm talking about something that Sarah said
on
television.
I'm talking about, and Sarah addressed this, and you should go back and look at her comments.
Sarah said she won't address it, is what she said.
No. She addressed this yesterday. She addressed the matter yesterday. But I think on this, everything that has to do with what the president refers to as the Russian investigation, the hoax, the witch hunt, you should go back and look at his many tweets on the issue. You should go back and look at what he said as recently as yesterday, or the day before, John, is that he feels like a lot of people's lives are being ruined. Nothing has been produced that implicates the president in any way. And you know that. And you know that it would have leaked if that were there. You know that. I know that CNN has invested considerable sweat equity, time, and money in chasing the Russian collusion, delusion, illusion, and that you're waiting for it to bear fruit. But a year in, you see the polls starting to turn on this. You saw the Harvard-Harris poll last week. You've got many Americans questioning.
Kellyanne, we do have to let you go. Let me just say, you say nothing's been produced. There have been indictments against Russians, right? There have been guilty pleas by
John, do
people
you
who
think,
worked for the campaign.
I'm sorry, but do you have any evidence, seriously speaking, since you want to talk about the law to a fully recovered attorney, happily so, do you have any evidence that there was Russian collusion? Do you actually think it changed the election results?
I haven't seen the special counsel's report. I have not seen the special counsel's report. I have seen evidence that Donald Trump Jr. met at Trump Tower with Russians promising dirt on Hillary Clinton. I have seen evidence that there were things that were lied about after that meeting, including whether the president dictated a letter. Someone lied about that.
No, I'm sorry, excuse me, you like to say that, but are you concerned that this IG report about the way the Clinton investigation was handled is delayed? Are you concerned about the content, or is CNN going to say, oh, she lost, so
I don't know.
The
only way I know it's delayed is because the president has suggested he's concerned about it, which suggests to me that he's perhaps being briefed by the Justice Department about the progress of this independent, the Inspector General's investigation. Is there something about that? Is there something about that investigation you want to tell us?
No, over a year, and all the compliance and cooperation hasn't diverted this president from doing his job. We are more prosperous, more secure 503 days or 2 days into his presidency. Hold on. And I don't think, Frank, respectfully, I don't think this has helped CNN. Your ratings are way down.
This isn't,
because
you know what?
Excuse me. No, I know I hit a nerve there, John, but let's be fair. You like to say lie and the president and Sarah in the same sentence. Excuse me. This is not benefiting you. You're not getting new viewers who want to hear this junk and this bunk because you don't have proof, and you're trying to let your viewers think that this man was not elected fairly and squarely. You know he was. You know not a single vote was changed. You do give that woman a platform when she comes. What are the Clintons doing to help America, by the way?
Listen,
what are they doing? You're giving her a platform.
I'm not asking. I didn't ask about Hillary Clinton. All I was asking about was what the truth. All I was asking, Kellyanne, is about what the truth is here. And I appreciate you coming on again to make your case.
We will keep looking. John, do you? Do you have any evidence that a single vote was impacted?
I don't know. I don't know. There are investigations going on right now, and we will find out what the special counsel has to say, pure and simple. And I know you will come on and make your case after that.
John, but excuse me, respectfully, do you think there is any part of that investigation that will show that this impacted votes and swung an election to Donald Trump? You know the answer is no. You know the answer is no.
I know what we've been told so far. I know we haven't promised anything, Kellyanne. And this is a silly line.
I was a campaign.
This is a silly discussion now.
Sorry,
I don't know.
It's not silly.
Maybe I'm
comfortable, but it's not silly.
I'm completely comfortable.
I was the campaign manager for the winning part of the campaign.
And a good one. You won a presidential election.
I never met George Papadopoulos. I never talked to a Russian that I knew about. Maybe they were disguised as a voter in Wisconsin,
Kellyanne,
but I kind of doubt it. I mean, come on, this president won fairly and squarely.
We got to go. We got to end it here because we're not getting anywhere on this front.
Thanks for covering the jobs numbers.
Again, the jobs numbers are good for the country, Kellyanne. Thank you for being with us. And we'll talk again. When the special counsel reports come out, let's talk again, and we can discuss what it finds.
I'll be here. Thanks.
Allison.
Kellyanne wanted to keep talking.
I know.
Sometimes she doesn't want to, but that time she wanted to keep talking to you.
I'm very likable.
Are you?
No.
Yes, you are, John. America loves you, and so does our next guest. President Trump is again blaming Democrats for the separation of immigrant children from their parents. He's tweeting this: separating families at the border is the fault of bad legislation passed by the Democrats. Border security laws should be changed, but the Dems can't get their act together. Started the wall. But this is the Trump administration's policy. It's separating kids from their parents. Here's Attorney General Jeff Sessions talking to conservative radio host Hugh Hewitt about why they're doing this.
The law requires us to keep children in a different facility than we do for adults. And every time somebody, Hugh, gets prosecuted in America for a crime, American citizens, and they go to jail, they're separated from their children. And we don't want to do this at all. If people don't want to be separated from their children, they should not bring them with them.
Joining us now is Democratic Whip Senator Dick Durbin. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning.
This is a confusing one. How can the Trump administration pretend this is not their policy? They could stop doing this. They could stop separating children from their parents at the border today. They could stop it today. There's no law that you're supposed to separate immigrant children from their parents. Why are they blaming the Democrats for this?
Well, the president tweeted that this was a result of a law passed by Democrats. That is a totally false statement. The law that he's referring to was passed by unanimous consent in the United States Senate and signed into law by President George W. Bush, period. It was not a Democratic president or Democratic law. It was a bipartisan effort. And what we tried to do was to make sure that when people came to our border and wanted to present themselves for refugee or asylum status because they feared persecution and credible threats to their safety where they lived, that they would be treated humanely. And the decision has now been made by Attorney General Sessions and this president to separate mothers from their children. 638 children have been separated from their mothers at the border. There is no requirement in law to do it. It is an effort to intimidate those who are seeking safety and security in this country. It does not speak well of this administration, and it reflects poorly on the United States across the world.
Jeff Sessions admitted as much. I mean, he's admitting that this is a deterrent. They're doing it to try to use it as a deterrent so that people don't come to the border or they don't bring their children with them. We have his own words saying it. But the fact that the president isn't owning it and the fact that the president is trying to put it on Democrats, does that tell you that the president believes that this is a losing strategy with voters, that voters don't like the idea of a 5-year-old being kept in a pen away from his parents?
I can tell you that across the United States, I have witnessed this in the last several weeks. Across the United States, there is a revulsion to this idea that this United States of America is going to have a policy of separating mothers and children. We have spokesmen for the American Pediatric Association, doctors who are coming forward saying, you are imposing a trauma on small children that is going to have a direct impact on their future and their lives. This is cruel. It is heartless. And is clearly part of an administration policy to get tough on immigrants, even at the expense of small children.
Senator, can you do anything about this?
What we can do is appeal to the American people to stand up and speak up, for goodness sakes. If you think this is what America is all about, to separate these children, 4-, 5-, 6-year-old children from their mothers. In one case, we had a woman from the Democratic Republic of Congo in Africa with her little girl. They were separated. She was sent to California. The little girl was sent to Chicago, and that's how I came to learn about it. An outrageous situation that is part of the policy of this Trump-Sessions administration.
You know, Jeff Sessions is making it sound as though, hey, they made this choice. If you are going to perpetrate a criminal act, well, guess what? There's repercussions. But some of these folks are seeking asylum.
Exactly.
You're allowed to come with your child and seek asylum and go through the process and stay united with your child.
Exactly. And that is what Attorney General Sessions is ignoring. His hateful attitude toward immigrants is being played out now at the expense of these children and their families. To think that this is now the official policy of the United States of America is disgraceful.
Okay, so Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has canceled your summer vacation. You all will be working for the better part of what used to be your August recess. What will be your priority during that month? What will you be working on?
By August, we will see a dramatic increase in health insurance premiums across America. Families and businesses will be turning to Washington, asking us to undo the harm that has been created by the Trump administration when it comes to the cost of health insurance and its availability for many Americans. I'm willing to stay here and fight as long as needed, as long as possible, to make sure that we make health care affordable for American families. What the Republicans have done to damage it can be undone tomorrow, but if they want to keep us through August to do it, I'll be on the job to do it.
Okay, and you have a month in August. Can you take up this immigration policy of separating children from their parents?
We can take up the immigration issue any time that the Republican leadership, which controls the business of the House and Senate, decides it's a priority. I am heartened by the fact that over 20 Republicans in the House have stepped up and said to Speaker Ryan, we will not leave this year without addressing immigration. The same sentiment in the Senate might lead us to a solution that protects these children and comes up with a sane approach to the mess we have on our immigration laws.
Senator Dick Durbin, we really appreciate you being here with your perspective. Please keep us posted on any progress you make on Capitol Hill. All right.
We'll see if they get to that in August, since they're going to be there. Be very interesting.
Well, I certainly hope so. I mean, listen, we've been talking about this all morning. The idea that Senator Merkley went there and saw 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds in pens, call it whatever you want, away from their parents, that is heartbreaking for all parents. I mean, I don't care if you're a Republican, Democrat. Anybody who would see that would feel sick about it.
While you were talking to Senator Durbin, we did get one piece of breaking news.
Oh, give it to me.
A programming note. Chris Cuomo is going to talk to White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders tonight on Cuomo Prime Time. That will be very interesting. There's a whole slew of questions that she needs to address. That's at 9 o'clock tonight only here on CNN.
Oh, no, I'm going to have to stay up late again.
CNN Newsroom with Poppy Harlow and Brianna Keeler starts right now.
Good morning, I'm Brianna Keeler in Washington.
And I'm Poppy Harlow in New York. So glad you're with us. It is the morning after the biggest day of primary elections so far this year. And if you listen really hard, you can hear Democrats breathing a sigh of relief. Some key races still not final, but in California's so-called jungle primary, it looks as if Democrats will finish in the top 2 in each of the House races the party most hopes to win in November. That's important to note that in California, the top 2 primary finishers face off in the general election regardless of party.
Republicans avoided a big shutout of their own, John Cox winning the right to face Democratic Lieutenant Governor.
A source close to the White House tells CNN that President Trump plans to continue to bring up the NFL national anthem debate through